That's the end of the video. Thanks so much for joining me. Good luck. I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. But this is going to be a full discussion about how to use a cereal box to construct a cover or book board. I hope that I'm thorough and clear because I've done this in the past, but I haven't done it in well over a year. Here we go. Let's talk about tools and materials first. You need a large cereal box, the largest you can find, a ruler, glue, a blade or scissors, and I put blade first because that's what I use. And you'll also need a pencil. You want the biggest box you can find. I'm not going to make any bones about it. And the reason is you want to get as much out of the cover construction as you can from these boxes without having to use two boxes. The next thing you're going to do is deconstruct the box, and this is really kind of important because it helps you preserve the front and back at the largest size possible. So look at the side seam and find where the boxes are joined. It's always on one of those side panels, and pull that apart. If it starts to rip, don't worry, that little 1/2-inch glue strip is a sacrificial piece at this point. If it comes off easily, great, you're going to cut it off anyway. Open your box flat with the inside facing you, and it's too big to even get in my shot, so that's a clue to you to do this first cutting part on a cutting mat on a very big surface, because the open box is something like 20 inches wide 20 inches tall. And I want you to notice where my ruler is. If you look at your box as it's unfolded, you'll notice there's little ridges. And you always want to make your cuts next to, not on top of, or to the right, in my case, because I'm right-handed, of those ridges. Here's an exploded view of half the box. And what I usually like to do is cut off the bottom flaps first, and then cut off that sacrificial glue strip and then cut down one of the faces. So I'm working on half the box at a time. It just seems to be less cumbersome, and you make less slips and less mistakes that way. And yes, even though you've got your ruler firmly placed exactly where you need it to make a straight cut, you will make slips. They're easily compensated for. You can trim off and even it up, so don't sweat it too much. And here's what you end up with. Number 1 are the two faces of the box. Number 3 are the two side pieces of the box. Number 4 are 4 little short end flaps that look suspiciously like perfect large oversized tabs. And number 5 are your box bottoms, which also have something that looks suspiciously like tabs, but we'll discuss that at another time. Just don't throw them away because we might be using them later. We'll see. Now I prepared a little template for you to help me explain how to cut this. That white piece of paper represents a standard 8.5 by 11 sheet. So 8.5 wide, 11 tall. And I'm going to mark on this template where your cut lines are. I'm going to mark some other dimensions, including what the actual face of one of these boxes is. And here I'm just turning it so you can see the portrait layout of an 8.5 by 11 piece of paper. I'm also pointing out the 11.25 mark. I point out the 30 centimeter mark and some other marks later on. Keeping in mind that I am making a 4-inch high by 6-inch wide text block for my junk journal, and so I need to cut my covers a 1/4 inch wider so that I have some overhang to protect the text block, and that's what I'm showing you here. I ran ahead of the class and cut my 4 pieces, not 2, 4, because we're going to glue 2 of them back to back, so we end up with 2 cover pieces, just to strengthen the cover cardboard, and you can get 4 pieces out of this one cereal box face at the dimensions that I'm going to show you. Now you have a little bit of play with this, and I'm just writing in the 4 1/4 dimension, in that you're going to end up with 2 strips that are about a 1/2 an inch long, and so you can make your cover a little bit wider and a little bit taller by about a 1/4 of an inch without messing things up. However, I have to skip ahead and show you what not to do. The largest dimension on the Cheerios box is 13 and some change wide by 9 and some change tall. That's if you get the giant size, biggest box on the market. And Cheerios has the biggest box on the market. And so you've got your cut lines laid out, you know where they are, you know where your blade is, wherever mine went off to. So you're going to cut these dimensions one at a time from 4 and a 1/4 high, and then you're going to turn your piece and cut, nope, sorry, you're going to cut your other 4 and a 1/4 high, and then you're going to turn your piece and you're going to cut your 6 and a 1/4 cut lines. What you're not going to do is what I'm showing you right now. You're not going to go up to the very top, so 12 and a half inches, and try and cut straight down. Don't do that because you will end up with uneven pieces. It's better to cut these one at a time on their dimension lines so that if your ruler isn't exactly straight and it's off by a millimeter or something, you can fix it. Let's take a second to talk about some basic terms for bookmaking that apply to junk journals. The first one is a text block, and you can see that's our stack of pages that is all accordion folded and affixed together with either washi tape or paper tape. The two in front are the book boards, which are our covers. And yes, I ran ahead of the class and glued mine together. I prefer to glue the glossy sides of my cereal box pieces together so that none of that shows on the face where I'm going to put cover fabric or paper or whatever. It's just easier to work on gray cardboard. Nothing shows through if you're using a thinner paper. Let's talk about binding, and this is the FINDME junk journal with a Midori elastic cord binding. It has 2 signatures. One, you'll see as I open it up, is just bound with an elastic cord that's sewn through the spine. And the second one is also held in place by another elastic cord, but under my finger, you can just see above it a bow, or a knot actually, where I tied my signature together with a knot. That's called a 3-hole pamphlet stitch. And you can find out how to do that in the Find Me Junk Journal playlist, and that is a hard spine. We're not doing that. For this Junk Journal January 2025 little mini journal, we're going to do a tabbed binding. And for that, we will have to wait until New Year's Day, where the prompt is cover. So we won't be doing any decorating of our book boards or anything like that today. We will do that on January 1st. However, I do want to give you a little creative something to do between now and then while you're gathering your tools and supplies and embellishments and digging around in your own closet, as well as asking your crafting friends for their junk. Whatever you need to do to fulfill the list of things to do for the prompts. And you can see when I put my book boards as covers over that book text block, I have a little bit of overhang. What I'm showing you now is a book plate, but I've made it into a folio. I used a full 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper, and I'm just going to make a mark in the middle because I laid it out this way. If you don't know how to do book matching, just print yourself out a set of images that will fit the space to make a book plate. Now, in my case, I'm going to cut it right in half, and I'll have to do a little trimming as well. On the left-hand side is my front, my book plate. This book belongs to, and then my little logo, and then in my right hand is the thing that I'm going to paste into the inside of that little folio, and it has a calendar space, January 1, January 2, all the way up to January 31, and blanks next to those dates, so I can write in which days I did what prompts if I'm combining my prompts. Now, you don't have to make it as complicated and into a folio like I did, but it's something to think about and a little decorative element you can do between now and then without decorating your covers, because we're going to wait until January 1st to do that. What you see me doing here is just doing a little paste up because I messed up my book matching, and I had to correct where those calendar lines fell on various sides of this little pamphlet or folio or what have you. So I'm just gluing it up, and then I'll show you the finished product. Book matching is a tricky business, and I've never really gotten the hang of it, even though I understand it in theory. And I won't go into why it's tricky at this point. I'm just checking to make sure that all of my calendar dates fall in a line where when I open the pamphlet it makes sense. So what did we do this week? Well, we figured out that we have a text block, and now we have made covers. We know exactly how to cut them out of a deconstructed cereal box, and we learned how to do that. We have enough overhang on our covers to accommodate our raggedy pages, and we can butt the whole thing up against the spine next week for our tabbed spine binding. Now, we also, just to get a little creativity in, created this book plate folio. This book belongs to, there's our prompt list, there's our days where we're going to record what prompts we did on what days. I have already put that together to do a little pamphlet binding, and then it will be put in the inside of our cover on January 1st. What are we doing on January 1st, you might ask? Well, since prompt 1 is cover, we're going to cover our cover. But before we do that, we need to figure out what we want to use for tabs for our tab binding. And that brown thing in the upper center of the shot is a piece of upholstery leather with adhesive backing. That's an example of something you could use, or you could use paper, or you can use vinyl. You can use fabric. You can use I-cord if you knit or crochet. You can use jute twine, maybe you braid it. You can use fabric trim. You can use burlap, as long as it will stand up to a little bit of torque and a lot of wear and tear. And the cover, everything I just mentioned, as well as maybe some tissue paper, some patterned paper, book pages, fabric, just about anything, again, that will stand up to some wear and tear. Here's that list of things to look for to embellish your junk journal January 2025 journal with, and anything else you can think of that I didn't list. I hope that you're enjoying this series. I appreciate you stopping by and taking time to watch this video whenever you see it. Thanks so much for joining me. God bless you. I hope you have a blessed and happy day with your family and friends, and I'll see you on January 1st to cover our covers. See you real soon.